Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the TeacherCast podcast, coming to you live from the birthplace of Rocky Balboa in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, with your host, Jeff Bradbury.
Hello everyone and welcome to the TeacherCast App Spotlight. My name is Jeff Bradbury from TeacherCast.net, and today we have a very special show for you. We're talking all about iBooks Author, creating amazing iBooks, e-publications for your classroom. And to help us today, we have an amazing guest lined up from a company called Bookery, which has actually been able to revolutionize the way that educators are taking iBooks and putting amazing widgets inside of them to create interactive and very unique content for their classrooms and for students of all ages. I want to welcome to the show Mr. Rhys Jones from Bookery. Rhys, how are you today?
Very well, Jeff. Exciting to be here and looking forward to talk everything about iBooks.
iBooks are amazing. You know, there's a lot of great things happening with them. Of course, we're talking about digital textbooks, and not just textbooks that teachers can create on their own for their classrooms, complete with all the information that they need for their students. It's an amazing time to be an educator, and you guys have created an amazing product for those books in Bookery. Talk to us a little bit about Bookery, Rhys.
Yes, well, Bookery was formed to basically help fill in the tool set of what's available for teachers to create these dynamic, rich, interactive textbooks that you mentioned. Now, Apple's iBooks Author is a fantastic tool to allow you to bring in different materials, text, audio, video, and mix them together to create the book that you want to share with your students. What we've done is basically use that as a way of bringing in other interactive features. You can think of a book now as being able to contain not only the videos and the audio pieces alongside the text, but also little programs. And they could be snippets of information, they could be little dynamic models, little games, whole set of different things that we call widgets. So Bookery is all about what you can do in books using these widgets.
Now, we all remember last year Apple came out with their educational keynote, and they introduced iBooks Author as a free tool for educators and really anybody to create these books. They even showed off some examples from people like Pearson and McGraw-Hill of how they were using this commercial-grade tool to really create some dynamic content. And that really left us thinking, how do we use that? How do we, as the consumers, the teachers that don't have these big corporations, how do we create such interactivity in our books? And you guys have really been the leaders in helping us do that. Talk to us a little bit about some of the great stuff that Bookery offers.
Yes, you're absolutely right. The whole thing is about bringing down the barrier of the complexity needed to create, these fantastic books. So in the past, you'd have to do some development, app development, something that's quite serious. With iBooks Author and Bookery, you can now get the same drag and drop experience to create the same level of professional output as you would in the past have to be engaged as a real company to do. So some examples are the kind of things that we've been doing. Are all about the interactive features you can put into a book. So think about following along on a book and wanting to open up something that's inside. A really fantastic example that we have is, you've probably seen these 360 views that you can capture now. Well, you can actually place a 360 view inside a book. So let's say you're talking about a specific place, let's say in Europe, in Paris, you're talking about the Eiffel Tower or something. Well, now you can actually take a 360 view of the Eiffel Tower and put that into a book. And then as the student is looking and reading at this, they can click on that and it opens up full screen and they're immersed in that place, and it brings it alive. Now, that as a complexity thing with Bookery is very, very simple. It's basically you drag and drop, you place it into the book, and then it's there to actually view on the iPad.
And the nice thing about this is it's something that educators can do for free, right?
Absolutely. So iBooks Author is free. Bookery is free. We have a very kind of straightforward model where as long as there's a little name of Bookery in our widgets, then there's no charge whatsoever. Our money comes from mostly businesses who want to take away that name, and we charge for a debranding. But for general educational use, that is completely free of charge. And you've got now a whole library of these widgets, and it's growing every month.
Now, why don't you take us through Bookery and do a little screen share there, and why don't you show us how Bookery works and how educators can take advantage of it?
Okay. What I'll do is I'll take you through to our homepage. So it's bookery.com. Anybody can actually create an account, very straightforward to do so. Now, normally you work with Bookery alongside iBooksAuthor. So you'd create a book in iBooksAuthor, and then as you want to add extra interactive elements, you would log into Bookery, create those elements, and then drag them in. Now, we follow the same kind of pattern of books in our terminology, in that all your work is being done on a bookshelf. But first of all, I'll just click and show you some of the widgets in our library and go through some of those examples. Now, there's a whole host of different things, from fun to functional. We've got examples of real calculator apps you can put alongside some notes in a book, for example. There's images you can take live from different sources on the web. So we've got feeds in from Instagram, from Flickr. You can actually embed things like Google Maps, so you can expand on a location and give the same interface that you'd normally use on Google Maps on the tablet or on your desktop right inside the book. Some of the things we have are more interactional, so in terms of being able to drive interaction between the reader and yourself. A couple of examples of those are what we call the form builder, being able to put together a very simple form that the reader can fill in and then you can actually get the information from. And we've got a few fun and game things as well. I'll show you a couple of those. Maybe I'll start off with that. Maybe I'll show you a quick maze widget just to show you how easy this is to create. So I have a look and see if that's something I want to do. And what I then do is very quickly add it to a book on Bookery. Now, again, we mirror what's happening on iBooksAuthor as on Bookery. And what we allow you to do is create this mini application, this widget, just by asking a few questions. An example here is to give it a title, my maze test. Now, we automatically generate a maze for you, or you can actually create another one if you wish, and you can make it as simple or as easy or as difficult as you'd like. So maybe I'll make it a little more simple here of 6 by 6. Yeah, that looks quite good. And what we can do then is add various other features. I can actually put a little character to drive around. I can maybe even give it a little point if I want to make it a little bit of a game. I can make it pick up a few things along the way. So maybe I'm making this as a little trail just to summarize some of the things we've been learning, and I want to prop in, some of the things you need to collect along the way. Just make it quite a bit of a fun game thing. Once I'm finished with that, I can actually just save and download the widget. And by clicking download, it basically wraps up all the things I've done and makes it into a little widget that's then ready for me to drag and drop onto iBooksAuthor. So what I do normally there is I click on the widget, I would drag it into iBooksAuthor, and then you'd actually see it live on the page.
Now, the neat part about your system is that you really have it organized so you can create widgets and put them into different books inside of your account there. So I know, like with our account here, I've got like 5 or 6 books that I've been working on with the help of Bookery, and it really, really is a nice place to organize all those different widgets.
Exactly. We're using the same kind of pattern as you would normally. You've probably got a handful of projects, maybe they're based on years or different student groups or different subjects that you're covering, and you actually create a book for each one of those. So I could do one here for another example as a title, and now I've got a complete area where I can start adding in new widgets. So I could put in, say, a BMI calculator, and I'm happy with that as it is. I could then add in, let's say, a calculator. So I'll add in all those. And this is just me creating different widgets in the book and arranging them so I can download into my real iBooksAuthor project and keep everything organized that way. Each one of these, we do have a way of sort of viewing online what the widget looks like. Each one has a preview element that allows me to actually have a look at what that widget will appear like without having to drag it into the book. So an example here is a scientific calculator. So it shows, that's the kind of layout I want. I really do need all these functions. I want to check maybe that it's got the memory functionality, and if I'm happy with that widget, I'm good to download it into the book. So all the widgets have got this preview functionality. Quite a few have got also some different elements you can put in. The little icon that appears in the book that people click on, you can upload so that the widget contains that. And quite a few of our widgets have various different settings that you click as you're creating them. The example with our calculator one here, I could change it from being full scientific to either a basic one but keeping the memory, or just a simple basic calculator that I want, because I've got a few things that I want to put in my book and allow the readers to use the calculator without having to go and swap out into another app on the iPad. Magic thing about these widgets is as you're using the book, the context contains itself with all the little extras that you'd normally want to use as apps inside the book itself. So you're not jumping from one place to the other, everything is on the same page.
And it really is simple to use. I mean, again, once you stick that widget into iBooks Author, you literally do just drag it into place. And then you can resize it, you can change it, you can put a title to it, you can do so many different things for it. And there really is an infinite amount of ways to use Bookery widgets, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been amazed by what different types of materials our users have been generating with Bookery. The whole kind of range of brilliant kind of forms that people have put together, embedding kind of worksheets, PDF worksheets inside books, so that students who are kind of following on and want some deeper depth in terms of some material, they can actually get that from the book just as a quick PDF that's inside it. All the way to kind of nice kind of interactive kind of games type of things, which you'd normally find, in an app, but are actually being kind of put together in kind of a nice kind of educational content just to bring some material alive.
Now, one of the things I like about what you offer here at Bookery is not just a place to build the books, but also a place to share the books. I mean, we all know that iTunes is the master list and repository for all things iBooks, but you actually have a bookstore here too, don't you? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we do. What we found was that iTunes and iTunes U it's a fantastic resource, and for any kind of formal way of distributing things, it's by far the best way of getting iBooks out to different users. Now, if you're selling books, you have to do it on the iBooks store. But if you're giving material away for free, which normally is the case in kind of educational context, then we found there's a need for a very quick way of putting together kind of like an online bookstore that you can share with others. So we've put together a kind of a store functionality on Bookery. And what this allows you to do is create a very quick store. I'll call mine Test, and Test again. I'm very creative with my names today. And I can invite some people in by putting their email addresses in and make my store effectively closed only to those users I've invited in. So if I'm creating maybe a closed area inside the school and I want to kind of share my book quite easily, then I can do so with these Bookery bookstores. And once I've created it, I can upload the book straight from iBooks Author. So I use the Bookery uploader, and it will zap the files up. It will automatically make it into a PDF and an iBooks for me, and it'll share it with the readers I've invited in. And at any time I want to close that, remove some readers, make it kind of time sensitive, then I can go in to the store, add and remove users as I wish. So it gives you quite a nice degree of control for that.
So with the bookstore, is it a closed system, or can you open it for anybody to download a book?
You can open it for anybody as well. So if you want to open it for anybody, then what I can do is I can browse the bookstore. Here's some examples that we have now. And when if you click on a book, you'll get a nice kind of preview of what that book looks like and what it contains. And if that looks like the book that you want to download, then you just click the download button and you can download it in iBooks straight through your iPad. You can also download it as a PDF if you're on a different, say a format that doesn't support it, PC or something. And if you've elected, you can also share the IBA, which we think is a fantastic thing if you're a teacher with some academic resource that you want to allow others to then create their own books from it.
Now, I would imagine that that's a great resource, let's say, for a teacher who's doing workshops at various locations. They can build a book, they can stick a book up there, And then when they get to the workshop, they can have everybody who's attending just download either the PDF if they don't have an iPad on them, or they can download the actual iBook and start to use. Is this the kind of a thing that you'd want to visit on your iPad, or do you have to visit it on a desktop and then download the book from somebody?
No, it works straight off the iPad, so you can actually browse through, download the iBook, and move it across into the iBooks application straight on the iPad without leaving it.
Nice. There's certainly a lot of great things happening over here at Bookery. And again, that's bookry.com, BOOKRY.com. Now, Rhys, with everything going on, why don't you come back to our video screen here for a second, actually, man?
Okay.
With everything going on recently, with Apple making this big, push for their new operating system, Mavericks, what do you think of the possibilities of iBooks and iBooks Author being native to the desktop and creating iBooks that teachers can use to publish on the desktop? What do you think of that kind of a realm?
I think the whole kind of the move that's just the whole kind of velocity and the momentum we've seen in the whole iBook space is phenomenal. The recent announcement of iBooks on the desktop, we think now the capability of taking the knowledge that educators and teachers have and disseminating that in a way that maintains the high kind of quality of their materials and the effectiveness of what they can actually communicate is now reaching a very good point in what the iBooks format can do, and the reach that a combination of iPads and the Mac desktop gives in terms of schools and pupils and those at home as well. So that combination now is coming to a point where it's really interesting that you can actually have that capability of creating in a very direct, non-complex way and disseminating that to the people who can really make a good use of it without having to compromise, either in terms of having to fall back to some format that loses some of the interactivity or breaks that interaction that you have with a student. So we're very, very excited about what this what this format can actually do, and already we're seeing people gather together, work collaboratively to actually create some books between them and get those out into the hands of students. And this kind of nice loop, I think, will only grow and grow as this content is shared and used and improved.
The neat part about iBooks Author, Bookery, it's not just tools that a teacher can use. I've seen some pretty decent and really I would say pretty amazing things coming out of student created work. Students creating projects using iBooks Author, students creating handbooks, textbooks for their school clubs, their school organizations. I mean, really, if you're using iBooks Author, there is a place for Bookery in every student's life and really in every educator's life. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. I think the best way of knowing you've understood a topic is to show that you can actually explain it to somebody else. If you can do that, then it's gone through the whole process of you understanding it, distilling it down to the key points and communicate that to somebody else. So as part of the learning process, as part of showing that you've understood something, being able to create an iBooks on that subject as a student is a brilliant way of going about doing it. And it's also good, it's rewarding. You see the effect, it's something you're kind of proud of the achievement of what you're kind of creating. And again, it adds to this library of knowledge that can be shared and used by others.
Where do you see the future of Bookery? I mean, we don't know what's going on with iBooks Author. We're assuming it's going to come out with a new version at some point. But what kind of widgets do we have on the horizon? Where do you see yourself in 6 months?
So we're always working on new widgets and making sure those widgets meet the need of what our users are asking for. We've got a brand new widget, which is our quiz builder, and that's coming out imminently in the next few days. That basically allows you to bring in some real interaction in terms of quiz assessments, review questions, and brings in this concept of what we call rooms. So it's effectively how you can actually take more than one iPad which has a book open on it, and make them all connect together inside a room, typically a classroom, let's say. This allows you then to kind of have a poll that people can react to, or a set of questions that you as a teacher can see how they're progressing. It allows you to bring up the screen of one book on your book. So if somebody is typing away an answer to something and they're kind of getting stuck, then you can actually bring up that screen for them. So we're very much focused on how you do this interaction between readers and teachers, or students and students, but how you can actually bring these together actively within a book. And that's our Bookery Rooms concept. It's first being rolled out in the quiz widget, but we'll actually be adding it to all of our other widgets in due course as well. Because we really do think that the definition of interactive will grow from the interaction that you do with your fingers now in the book to the interaction that you have with other readers who are using that book at the same time.
You know, Rhys, I want to say congratulations for having a great web tool for every educator. I mean, tell us again where we can find more information out about Bookery.
So everything's on the website, bookry.com. The spelling is book, letter R, letter Y.com.
And of course on Twitter.
And we are the Bookery. And we've got the Bookery on Facebook and on YouTube as well. There's lots of different guides created by ourselves, created by others, who have actually shown what they've created on Bookery so that other people can actually follow their steps and create the same magical widgets as easily as they've shown.
Nice. And of course, all the information for today's show is going to be on our website, podcast.teachercast.net/Bookery. We're going to have all the show notes, links to where you can find great stuff, and also I'll have some examples of iBook Author projects that not only we have done here at TeacherCast, but that other educators have done around the world. So check that out, podcast.teachercast.net/Bookery. Rhys, I want to thank you and your team once again for coming on this show. It's always a pleasure to have you on and to share some of the great things that are happening at Bookery, and we wish you continued success.
Great. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Jeff. Very much like the session we've had today.
And of course, you can check out all the great stuff that's happening over at teachercast.net. We've got a lot of amazing things. We have a brand new iPhone and iPad and Android app coming out. And of course, if you go to teachercast.net/iBook, you can see what we've done with our Bookery apps and how we're trying to bring the best educational content to you using iBooks Author. Thank you so much for joining us today. Continue sharing your passions with your students and enjoy the summer, everybody. Have a good night.